Guess who's back? Back again. No, not Slim Shady. I'm talking about that breakaway league in rugby. Yes, that old chestnut is back on the table and maybe noisier and, who knows, maybe more likely than ever to actually happen. And should we be excited about that or should we fear that? What are the obstacles? What are the costs? What are the upsides? What are the downsides? I'm going to cover it all. I have some thoughts. Let me tell you. And please tell me yours as well in the comments down below. Get stuck in. I've only just seen this story and still trying to get my head around it a little bit, but I will attempt to do so. And like I say, get stuck in down below. Give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe. Fair play to Gavin Mayers of The Telegraph, who got the scoop on this one. We've heard about this rumoured breakaway league for a while now, but we've got more flesh on the bones. And as the headline says there, Mike Tindall is the driving force behind Rugby Breakaway League. So, what can I tell you about this? What is it? Well, it's going under the name R360. And when I first heard that name, what I immediately thought of was E720. The fictional company, Entertainment 720, which they come up with in Parks and Recreation, which is an amazing show if you've never seen it, and you really should. So yeah, it's called R360. We've already seen that Mike Tindall's involved. So is former Bath Director of Rugby Stuart Hooper, who will be hoping this venture is more successful than his last was. Mark Spores, former rugby agent, and the lawyer behind the Indian Premier League and Live Golf. Interesting, John Loffangen. So that's who and what it is. When is it? It's going to be between April and June every year, starting next year, and then August and September. So across 5 months, with a little gap in the middle for international rugby. And that's one of the first things they've been at pains to say. This will not affect international rugby windows. So Six Nations, February, March, unaffected. The July test window, unaffected. And the November test window, unaffected. And it would fit in around that. There are other issues with international rugby, which I will come on to in a little bit. I wonder if they must have given it some thought, but I'll come on to that. So what is it? It is a 12-team franchise competition that goes around the world, Grand Prix circus style. So it'll be a little bit like Formula One, where they travel to cities and, yeah, consequently, and even they've said that they've already had multiple bids to own franchises from Formula One teams and NFL owners. So, yeah, I asked ChatGPT to come up with rugby teams owned by Formula One owners, and that's what it came up with. Although, interestingly, it put Rugby League on the front of the shirts, which actually is kind of weirdly appropriate because that was the last big breakaway in rugby, wasn't it? 120 years ago when Rugby League splintered off from Rugby Union. Is this going to be that seismic, or will this be another one of the ideas that gets mothballed, never to be heard of again? We will see. What is it? They're going to... Well, when is it? September 2026, they're saying. It's going to start September 2026. There'll be 8 men's teams initially and 4 women's. That will go up the following year to 10 men's teams and then eventually to 12. And it's going to be a roving circus that goes around the world to what they describe as 16 glamorous venues, including Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which made me chuckle a little bit because the area around Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, far from glamorous. The stadium itself is, to be fair. It's amazing. And they say Sao Paulo and Camp Nou in Barcelona. So these are kind of, I don't know, does this not sound a little bit like the World 7 series that they've basically just shrunk and pulled back all the funding on of World Rugby? It does feel a little bit like that. They say there's going to be a city takeover, festival feel, music, entertainment, and it will culminate, the season, this franchise league season would culminate in a Super Bowl moment. Okay. Like I say, things like this have been tried before and haven't been able to happen. They've come close as well in the past, but haven't happened. Will this be the same? The thing is, why you have to take this seriously is because there will be cash. There will be lots and lots and lots of cash. I mean, we've talked about those Formula One teams, not short of a bob. Qatar Airways, they'd probably want to have a dabble, own a team. There'll be a sovereign wealth fund somewhere in the world, maybe the UAE, that will want to want the kudos of owning this, having heard all the millions that they're trying to flex to be part of rugby. And the quote from Mike Tindall said, quote, "Rugby is feeling the fallout of the last few years with financial mismanagement, declining investment in the club game, and a product that is struggling to evolve. Clubs around the world are being propped up by the international game." Now, look, naturally, I am wired to absolutely hate this idea with a burning passion. Because I grew up watching the Premiership, the Heineken Cup, Champions Cup as it is now. I absolutely love the URC. I love the top 14 as well. Do you know what? My credentials as a fan of club rugby as it currently is are beyond doubt, because I love club rugby so much. I went and put my money where my mouth is. I went and bought the rights to French second division rugby because I love club rugby that much. And I've still, nevertheless, got to say, Mike Tindall's got a point. Rugby is feeling the fallout of the last few years with financial mismanagement, declining investment in the club game, and a product that is struggling to evolve. In most parts of the world, that statement is absolutely true. Certainly where I sit in England, that could not be more true. I think it's a very different picture in France, where I've literally invested. And I think, well, I mean, I've been saying there's lessons that can be learnt from other parts of the world for ages, but there's no doubt that in many places, club rugby is, for the most part, a kind of, well, it's wealthy men spending their kids' inheritance because they love rugby so much. It's not making money. So you have to take it seriously, because that is a factor. I mean, even recently in England, it's got to the point where the clubs are having to be effectively bailed out by the RFU, who are giving them more and more of their money and, you know, subsidising their top players' wages so they don't go abroad to France or anywhere else. So it has to be taken seriously. Do you know, we've had years of people in charge of our game not making proper compromises, not thinking about long-term solutions to problems, just trying to put plasters over festering wounds. A globally aligned season should have been sorted years ago. And actually, we've only very recently seen a glimpse of that spirit of unity and trying to forge a path that's sustainable, with talk about the World Club Cup, which I'm not sold 100% on the World Club Cup, but the one really, really positive thing that came out of it is that the French top 14 agreed to move their season finishing earlier so that everyone would be aligned and all finish at the same time and be able to do a World Club Championship. Now, I don't know about you, but now I'm looking at that story from last week and I'm thinking, well, they knew that this breakaway league was coming, and that's what's motivated them to actually get around a table and sort things out. Why couldn't it have been done years ago is my frustration, which might have meant that the club game was in a much, much better position, which might have meant that this breakaway league wouldn't have a chance at succeeding. But I think you have to take the serious chance that it could, because what Mike Tindall says isn't wrong. Financial mismanagement, just bad stewardship of our game all over the shop. The question is, with all that said about the issues that rugby faces at club level, and it's important to say, international rugby is thriving. It's never been better. It's an unbelievable product out there. And that's one of the things where I kind of go, I wonder if this actually will work, because if you really, really wanted to watch the top 300 rugby players on the planet playing each other, just watch international rugby, which is there for you every February, March, July, August, September and November. It's there basically most of the year in one form or another. So that's one of the things that makes me wonder whether it will actually happen. Is this a solution to it? Well, I mean, Live Golf, as an example, and that's had a real mixed bag of fortunes, hasn't it? not seen a return. Rumours of millions and millions of pounds in losses. Low ratings. Had a big digital footprint, but I don't know how you'd assess that. Fundamentally, club rugby, right? What is club rugby? What would this be if there was a breakaway league? I think it would be a kind of like a World 7 series where people go for the party and kind of watch a bit of the rugby. Club rugby, as it stands to me, represents local identity. Like, international rugby is fun because you're supporting your country. It's like nationalism, which is a dirty word in some places, but I'm not afraid of it. I love it. It's nationalistic, and that makes it fun. That's where the rivalry is. And for me, club rugby is the same thing. International rugby does it at the absolute top level, and it's doing it incredibly. Like the Six Nations with Ireland against France, when South Africa played Ireland last year, New Zealand, South Africa, cannot wait for France, South Africa, cannot wait for the Lions series. When international rugby does it, it's proper. Club rugby, it's all about local identity and that shared identity that you have. So some of these clubs, particularly, in some areas, have been part of the fabric of towns and cities for 150 years in some cases. Like Northampton Saints and the Shoe Army is a perfect example. It still is a centre of shoemaking in England. Master shoe craftsmen have built that city, and that's part of the identity of the city, and the rugby team reflects it with their shoe army. And you're just not going to have that with this franchise system. It's going to kind of be, by comparison, it's going to be a little bit soulless and empty, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. There's also the practical factor that they've said, it's all right, this will be outside of the international rugby window, but it doesn't account for the rugby championship in August and September. So what impact would that have? I mean, Rassie Erasmus has actually said the rugby championship should be moved to be at the same time as the Six Nations. So maybe that's all wrapped up in this as well. I mean, that would make sense. So maybe that's part of it as well. And if that was the case, what would it look like on a practical level? That would mean that this new league comes in. You'd have, if they moved the rugby championship, so it was with the Six Nations, you'd have Six Nations and Rugby Championship February, March. You'd have this new competition, R360, April, May, June. You'd have International Rugby July. You'd have R360 August, September. Month off in October, November tests. Month off in December. Month off in January. So you get 3 months off out of the year. Do you know what? That is going to be something that appeals to quite a few rugby players. That feels like a reasonable amount of downtime. Although obviously they'll be with international camps and things like that preparing for matches. So maybe it'll be a couple of months. But anyway, you might get December and October off every year. No more having to play rugby over Christmas. I mean, my brother was a pro rugby player. I know he would have absolutely lapped that one up. Lots to think about. I can't help thinking it just feels a little bit soulless. However, and it's not going to have that emotional connection that countries do, that clubs do. But will the players want to do it? Yes. Well, cash-wise, yes, the players will want to do it, 100%. They'll want the global profile that this might get them, which in turn leads to cash, so yes. Also, like I say, the rest time that they get. And did I mention the players might quite like some cash? And they deserve to earn every single damn penny they can, because it's a career which is short and can be ended with one tackle like that. So they deserve to make all the cash they can. But one of the big factors is, to go back to international rugby, are they going to be allowed to play? Like South Africa, for example, they've been very, very open about their players. Yes, you can play in Japan. More and more they've been getting the box back to South Africa. But yeah, you can go and play in Japan. That's absolutely fine. And if you play in Europe, doesn't mean you can't play for the national team. In England, however, Jacques Willis cannot play for England. And nor can any player, apparently, that plays outside of the Premiership. So if they go and sign up for this new project, does that mean they can't play international rugby? Same in Ireland, same with New Zealand. Or will the rules change? Might this be the straw that breaks the camel's back and has the whole house of cards crumbling down? I'm mixing my analogies or metaphors, but you know what I'm saying. Would England be forced into a position, would other countries like Ireland and New Zealand be forced into a position where they would have to relax the rules? And what would you think of that? This is going to be massive for the clubs. They're going to put so much pressure on their unions to not let this happen. Equally, in thinking about it, we're talking about 300 players. If you took the best 300 players out of the domestic leagues, but that was spread across Super Rugby, URC, Top 14, Premiership, maybe it wouldn't ruin the club game at all. It's only 300 players after all. It would take the kudos away though, wouldn't it? Or would it? I don't know. The sponsors, would they want to actually pull the trigger? I can imagine if you were a potential sponsor of this competition, you might go, yeah, we'll do it in principle, but we're not going to announce it until we see what the reaction is. And if the reaction from rugby fans is not good, and if it ends up not happening, no sponsor wants to be on the record saying that they were going to put their money into that, because that will be not a good look for them. It's the same goes the players. I'm sure a lot of them will want to do it, but they're not going to say yes unless a load of their mates do it, and safety in numbers, and that might mean that they can still play international rugby. There's a lot to unpack with this one. There's a lot to go through, and I appreciate, even though I've gone into some depth, I've only scratched the surface. I'm going to be right down there in the comments with you, having a look what you got to say, what your thoughts are, and let's see how this one develops. Interesting.